college, and credentialism. Two pretty interesting topics. Now, I think being educated is very important, but what I'm calling into question is the effects of such a large amount of people entering college and relying on general credentials to improve their overall prospects, especially in a job market that's already in disarray and things are changing pretty quickly. It feels like college nowadays is just high school 2.0 with a bronze ticket at the end. I'm not even sure what the main product being sold anymore is, but we'll get to that later. So I wanted to start with the question, is college a scam? And my answer is no, college is not a scam, but only if you look at it for exactly what it is. The access to structured programs is not a scam. The experience of college is not a scam. The electives and being able to be around people your own age is not a scam. The access to certain clubs or internships is not a scam either. Sure, there's other avenues to get all those things independently, but not all in one. So again, in those aspects, college is not a scam. The parts that are a scam though, or could be considered one, how about the idea that you're guaranteed to be better off by having any degree? Or the part where the prices increased significantly over the years for seemingly no reason? You could probably say that's a scam too. Or how about the part where you're required to take a bunch of unrelated classes to get your degree? That's probably a scam. And I don't buy the well-rounded individual thing because most people forget that information by the time the semester ends, besides a few maybe small tidbits. And there's more than enough educated idiots out here to show that the well-rounded individual thing is more so a myth. So yeah, it's not as simple as just go there and you'll succeed. Because truth be told, going to college isn't exactly a unique thing nowadays. Degrees are becoming more and more common. In fact, the amount of degree holders is close to being around half the population now, and there has to be residual effects of that. My basic logic is, when most people who apply for jobs have degrees, having a degree won't separate you anymore. One of the biggest issues I have with college generally is how they tie it to the job market. Let's be for real now. Why are jobs requiring 4-year degrees for jobs that can train you on in 3 to 4 weeks? Why are entry-level jobs requiring degrees and 5 years of experience? Why are there degree requirements for jobs that pay $12 an hour? The math don't even make sense. The question starts becoming, should a degree really be necessary? Or is there a systemic effort to inflate enrolled numbers by requiring degrees for simple jobs? That goes back to the earlier point. The idea that going to college and getting a degree is always better than not. Something that's used to sort of prove this from their end is the concept of expected lifetime earnings. This is usually an income comparison created by putting degree holders against high school diploma holders and showing the disparities based on education level. Something like, did you know 80% of millionaires have college degrees? Did you know a college graduate makes $1 million more in their lifetime than a person with a high school diploma? I mean, first off, most people don't become millionaires. And second, it's basically a statistical fallacy. The pool of people who only have a high school diploma is extremely vast. And for example, you're including people who are riffraffs or neats, and even people who don't necessarily want to climb the corporate ladder or the career ladder from the get-go. So they don't really care about that. It creates a faulty perspective where degree holders compare themselves to entirely non-career driven people. And not just that, but the term degree covers a very wide spectrum of programs. Why are we lumping easier degree programs with degrees in accounting, for example? When you actually dive deeper into the numbers, things start getting a little bit more shaky. Like, over 60% of college graduates don't work in an industry that matches their degree. And I think that number might actually be higher. Next thing is, only about 25% work in a career that closely matches their degree at all. Even with STEM degrees, 74% of them don't even work directly in STEM occupations. Now, obviously the numbers are wonky and just taken at face value, but it's an interesting dilemma because a lot of degrees just straight up have a negative ROI depending on how much you pay for it. So ultimately, I believe for something to be a scam, it has to either allude to or promise something that can't be fulfilled, or it's selling a result that is misleading. And some will say college sells education, or maybe it's prestige, rankings, or status. That can all be a part of it too. But really, at its core, they sell you what you get after the education. The belief that you will be financially successful by default by having a degree. And personally, I don't think people will be paying 50K just to get educated, especially in this economy. And especially when plenty of folks still come out dumb as hell. What they really want is the potential income on the back end. So again, if they didn't conveniently tie degrees to the job market, I think it's questionable whether or not many people would go to college at all. So to close out the whole is it a scam situation, to me, these institutions are a business at the end of the day. They have no responsibility to follow through on anything outside of that certificate. There's no incentive for them to remove any of the useless degree programs. Like, why would they? For the folks it doesn't work out for, all they gotta do is say, you had to know the right people, or the right networks, and the right programs, and the right internships. The onus will always be on you. Common knowledge tells people to go to college at 18 after high school. That's pretty much been the social norm for as long as I've known, at least, but sometimes I wonder, maybe it's too quick or too soon for a lot of people. So many people have not a damn clue what they're going for. It's just kind of the next step. You pick something, maybe you stick with it, maybe not, then poof, a few years pass, and it's almost like you floated through. And time to get a job now. And hopefully it pays enough. Then you have people who hop on something I call the degree Ferris wheel. They get on the ride, they get a degree, then afterwards they realize it's not enough to make money with, or it's not something they wanted to specialize in, so they hop back on for another ride, they get off, they realize they need more credentials or more education, so they hop back on, get off, and by the time they finally stop, they owe an ungodly amount of money at the minimum, but at least they have a few letters on their name and possibly, maybe a better income. That's just how it is. Like, understandably, everybody has their reasons for going. For some, they're trying to prove a point. Others are going for legacy purposes. Others are going for the lifestyle. Others are going for parties. Others want to feel respected by their education status. Others want to feel respected by their peers. Others want to be respected for their education status. Others are going to be the first in their family. Others are going for financial aid and reimbursement checks because, yeah, let's keep it real now. Some are going for that. Hell, some people just like going to school, and they will go as long as it's possible until the financial aid runs out. But realistically, how many people are really going because they research the job market in their particular living area for that particular set of skills, for that specific degree? Like, sure, I don't believe you have to have everything figured out, but that's a tough gamble for most 18-year-olds because I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then at that age. And to make it even more egregious and potentially predatory, you have 18-year-olds, many coming from low to middle income families, going to schools at 5-figure per year tuition. They don't know what they're doing, what they're picking, or what they're going for, and by the time they get halfway through, they change their major at least once or twice. But hey, just go is what they say. And it's crazy because student loans, in my view, may be some of the most predatory loans imaginable. How are we giving 5 to 6-figure loans to folks who have no concept of what that type of money is yet? Nor do they have any clue how it will get paid back in any reasonable amount of time. Now, I'm decently okay at math, but I ain't no numbers cruncher, like a financier or accountant or an actuary or an insurance expert. Those kinds of people, they know numbers, they know risk, and they know probability like the back of their hand. So you can't convince me that they're not giving these janky loans to teenagers and young folks without knowing there's going to be a significant benefit on the back end for them. A 50K loan for pretty much anything else at that age is going to get denied. Why? Because you're high risk, but for some reason, they get handed out like candy at the college gates. Reality is, down the line, most people are not paying down their balance. They're just making payments, if at all. The average student loan balance doesn't get paid off for another 20 years, and that's tracking it from way back when. That's not even just recent. So the people who are graduating in the past like 5 to 10 years, I mean, that might take a lifetime to pay off. And in my opinion, I think they assume most people aren't going to pay it off in full, without some interest kicking in, and they end up having to pay way more than the balance. So some might be call it borderline usury. I don't know. But I think it's to a point where a lot of millennials and Gen Zers are going to get absolutely screwed over by the go to college no matter what message. And I think a lot of millennials are already screwed up by it, since they're like closer to being 40 by now. You got to know what you're doing first, because once those loans are taken out, the only guarantee is that you'll have to pay it back. Our generation was told that owing a ton of money is a normal thing. So now the inflated costs of college are normal too. And having everyone stand in a circle sharing their balances is normal too. It's a problem. Now, onto credentialism. I think certain workplaces and fields require a degree due to the general culture of credentialism. Basically, you need a degree because other people in the office have one. And we have to pretend they actually matter when it comes to doing the actual work. As if plenty of folks don't just send emails and sit in meetings all day. Hell, some people can't even open an email at that. It's almost like a form of gatekeeping or keeping an image. But I guess there's also the issue of, hey, how come they make the same as me and I have a degree? Not the best way to maintain that company family environment, I suppose. But it's also tricky because some say degree inflation is becoming a real thing, and I believe it. People are applying to hundreds, sometimes thousands of jobs these days with basically no response, maybe an interview here or there, but nothing. I touched on this in my job market lottery video, but if you have a degree and you got the job, that doesn't necessarily mean that you got the job because of your degree. In order for you to have gotten it, somebody else with a degree had to get denied of it. It's almost like a lottery system. You might have to start considering, like, is there going to be a point where a bachelor's isn't enough? Now you got to go back for another 2 to 4 years. Some people are getting fake degrees too. And to make the matters more interesting, some people just know somebody relevant and get to skip the entire line. And then after they're already in there, then they get the degree to make the company seem legit and fair and to make it seem like they got in there in a way that you couldn't have. Another aspect that's funnier is that a lot of folks don't even stay 20 years in one role anymore anyways. Plenty of people pivot at some point. And for some, they're even forced to pivot because their main field becomes obsolete and it phases out. So when that happens, does their degree still matter? Especially if they end up still having to pay for it? It's just a lot to unpack. As with many things, results may vary, and honestly, I've seen people take so many different paths to get where they are, whether they went to school or not. I've seen people who have a degree with a good salary. I've seen people without degrees with good pay. I've seen people with high student loan debt and no degree. I've seen people with multiple degrees and barely use them. People with degrees with corporate roles, people without them who have it. People who have degrees with regular jobs. People making good money in trade, self-employed, running businesses. Like I said, going to college can help a lot of people, but it doesn't guarantee a healthy financial life or a high income at that. Those are things you have to be proactive about for yourself. There's so many paths and avenues people take, so there's still opportunities. And I forgot to touch on this earlier, but there's a big difference between specialized knowledge and general knowledge. There are definitely certain things you should get a formal education for. Medicine, plumbing, HVAC, engineering, or certain kinds of engineering, I should say, electricians, things like that. But even then, those are very specific programs for each specialization. All different avenues. Job fields, locations, career paths matter. And if you choose a college route, there's also certain fields where portfolio, smaller certifications, websites, practical tests, those are given priority as well. So if you clearly know what you're doing, then having a degree on paper could help. But again, maybe it won't either. Bottom line is, I'm not interested in telling anybody what they should do or shouldn't do because that ain't my damn business. Personally, I enjoyed school in certain aspects, but not others. And maybe just the structure of it, that kind of turned me off to it as well. So, hey, I don't know. But everything else is pretty fun. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. College is cool overall, and it can be very, very helpful, but it's also expensive, and there's other things that come with it. It is not a straight line. It can definitely streamline things for some people, and for some, not so much. Is it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not up for me to answer. It's up for everybody as individuals. All right, so that's it for me. Appreciate y'all for watching again. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to drop a like below and check out my newsletter where I share notes like this straight to your inbox. And as always, subscribe for more. Peace.